Welcome to TLH Patterns. Today we'll see how to crochet this very beautiful and delicate lace scarf. This scarf measures approximately 32 centimeters wide and has a length of 180 centimeters after blocking and including the trim. For this scarf you will need around 500 meters of fingering weight yarn and a 4 mm crochet hook. Let's begin making the scarf. First, make a slip knot. Then make 90 chains. I have made 90 chains. Now skip 11 chains from the hook. And in the 12th chain work 4 double crochets, 2 chain and 4 double crochets. One, two, three, 4. Now make 2 chains and work 4 more double crochets in the same chain. We'll call this the 4DC shell. That's the 4DC shell. Now make 2 chains. Skip 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and work a double crochet in the next chain. Chain 2, skip 5 chains and work a 4DC shell in the next chain. 4 double crochets followed by chain 2 and 4 double crochets in the same chain. Chain 2, skip 5 chains and work a double crochet in the next chain. Repeat this across, working 2 chains, then skipping 5 chains and then 4 DC shell in the next chain, again 2 chains, skipping 5 chain and 1 double crochet in the next chain. So this will be repeated across the row. So that's the first row. I finished with a double crochet in the last chain. Now start the next row with chain 3. This will count as your first stitch. Then make a double crochet in the same stitch. Then chain 2. So in the chain 2 space of the next 4 DC shell, you will work a 3 DC shell. That is 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets in the same space. So this is called your 3 DC shell. Now chain 2 and in the next DC you are going to make a V stitch, that is double crochet, chain 2 and double crochet. This is called the V stitch, followed by chain 2 and a 3 DC shell in the chain 2 space of the next 4 DC shell. Now chain 2, double crochet, 2 chain double crochet called the V stitch in next double crochet, then chain 2, 3 DC shell in the next chain 2 space of 4 DC shell. Repeat this across. You will end the row with 2 double crochets in the last space. Chain 3 and turn. We'll start the third row. Work 2 double crochets in the first stitch. So you will have 3 stitches at the beginning. Now 2 chains, and in the chain 2 space of the next 3 DC shell you will work a 2 DC shell, that is 2 double crochets, chain 2 and 2 double crochets in the same space. This is your 2 DC shell, chain 2, and in the next V stitch you are going to work a 2 DC shell, 2 DC, chain 2 and 2 DC. Chain 2, 2 DC shell in the next 3 DC shell, chain 2, again 2 DC shell in the next V stitch, 2 DC, chain 2 and 2 DC. So repeat this across, working 2 DC shell in each chain 2 space of each shell, and also 2 chains in between each 2 DC shell. So this is how your third row will look. Now at the end of the row you will work 3 double crochets in the last stitch. The 3 chains that you make at the beginning of a row will count as a stitch, so you will work the 3 double crochets in that stitch at the top of the 3 chains. We'll begin row 4 with chain 3 and 3 double crochets in the same stitch. Chain 2, and in the 2 DC shell space you are going to work a V stitch, that is double crochet, chain 2 and double crochet, then chain 2, and in the next 2 DC shell work a 3 DC shell, 3 double crochets, chain 2 and 3 double crochets. So here you will work a V stitch, then a 3DC shell with 2 chains in between each of these shells. So you will be repeating this across. So here I am making a V-stitch and then chain 2, then I will make a 3DC shell, two chains, then V-stitch. You will end the row with 4 double crochets in the last stitch. Chain 3 and turn. This is row 5. You're going to make 4 double crochets in the same stitch. Then chain 2 and 1 double crochet in the V-stitch, chain 2, and now a 4 DC shell in the chain 2 space of the 3 DC shell. Chain 2, 1 double crochet in next V-stitch, chain 2, 4 DC shell in the next shell. So you will repeat this across. End the row with 5 double crochets in the last stitch. Here you can see one set of shells move in an ascending order and the other in a descending order. So first you'll make 4 DC shell, then 3, then 2, 1, and the other one will keep increasing from 1, 2, 3 and then 4 DC shell. Now we'll start the next row with chain 3 and work 3 DCs in the same stitch. So here also at the beginning also you will start with 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3, 4, 5 and then decrease to 4, 3, 2. So here in the last row you made 5 stitches at the beginning, and so here you will make 4 stitches followed by chain 2 and you have 1 double crochet. Into that you will work a V-stitch, chain 2, and now in the 4 DC shell you are going to work a 3 DC shell. So from this row, the set of shells that were ascending, that is going from 1 DC shell to 2 DC, 3 DC and 4 DC shells, will start descending, that is go down from 4 DC shell to 3 DC shell, then 2 DC, then 1 DC and then a single DC, while the other set of shells that started with the 4 DC shell and descended to a single DC will start moving up to V stitch, then 2 DC shell, 3 DC shell, and then 4 DC shell. In this row we are working V stitch in every single DC and a 3 DC shell in every 4 DC shell with chain 2 in between each shell. Also at the beginning and end of each row your stitches will increase from 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5 and then come down to 4, 3, 2, 1 and again go back 2, 3, 4 and 5. I am finishing this row with 4 double crochets in the last stitch. So in the previous row we had 5 stitches at the beginning and end. So in this row we will have 4 stitches and the next row will be 3 and then 2 and then 1 and again 2, 3, 4, 5. Here you can see here the stitches increases and then decreases. I started the row with chain 3, then I will make 2 double crochets in the same stitch which makes it 3 stitches at the beginning, then chain 2 and you have a V stitch. Now you will work a 2 DC shell in the V stitch. Then chain 2 and here you have a 3 DC shell, you will make a 2 DC shell. Chain 2, 2 DC shell in V stitch, chain 2, again 2 DC shell in the next 3 DC shell. Repeat this across. End the row with 3 double crochets in the last stitch. Chain 3 and turn. Work a double crochet in the same stitch, making it 2 stitches at the beginning of the row. This is row 8. Now chain 2. Now make a 3 DC shell in the next 2 DC shell. Chain 2. And you make a V stitch in the next 2 DC shell. Chain 2. 3 DC shell in the next shell. Chain 2, V stitch in the next shell. So this will be repeated across. Complete the row with 2 double crochets in the last stitch. Start the next row with chain 5. This will count as a double crochet and chain 2. And now in the next 3 DC shell, make a 4 DC shell. then chain 2, double crochet in the next V-stitch, then chain 2, 4 DC shell in the next shell, chain 2 and double crochet in the next V-stitch, chain 2, 4 DC shell in the next shell. Repeat this across. Make a double crochet in the last stitch. So here you can see how the pattern forms. One set of shells start with 4 DC shell, then go to 3, 2, 1 and then a single DC, while the other set starts with 1 DC and then moves up to 4 DC and then again goes down to a single DC. So you repeat rows 2 to 9 until you reach your desired length. So my shawl measures about 160 centimeters long without blocking. Now I'll show you how to work the last row. So you will finish with row 9, then make chain 8. This will count as double crochet and chain 5. Then work a single crochet in the chain 2 space of next shell and chain 5. Now make a double crochet in next double crochet, then chain 5, single crochet in chain 2 space of next shell, again chain 5, double crochet in next double crochet. So I'm showing you in the sample piece, this is not my original shawl. Repeat this across. So this is your finishing row, and now finally work a double crochet in the last space. Now I'll show you how to work a trim for your scarf. Start by making chain 10. Now into the 4th chain from the hook, work 5 double crochets together. So skip 3 chains, and into the 4th chain you will work 5 double crochets together. That is yarn over, insert hook in the next chain, pull yarn, yarn over and pull through 2 loops on the hook. Again yarn over, insert hook in the same chain, pull yarn, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. And then for the 3rd time, yarn over, insert hook in same chain, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Again yarn over, insert hook in same chain, yarn over, pull through 2 loops and repeat it once again. And now you yarn over and pull through all the loops on the hook. This is your 5 double crochet cluster or 5 DC together. Now chain 3 and work a slip stitch in the same chain. Then chain 2, skip 2 chains and work a slip stitch in the next chain. Then chain 3 and now make a single crochet in your next stitch. Repeat this again. Chain 10, skip 3 chains and work 5 double crochets together in the 4th chain. chain 3, slip stitch in same chain, chain 2, skip 2 chains, slip stitch in the next chain, chain 3, single crochet in the next stitch. Repeat this across. After finishing this side, repeat it on the other side also. This scarf needs to be blocked for better results. My scarf measured 160 centimeters before working the trim and before blocking, but after blocking it became 180 centimeters. I hope you like this pattern. Please subscribe to my channel for more such crochet patterns. Thank you.